Today is October 10th, 2025. It is a time to look back. Over a century ago, a painful chapter began in Korean history. On August 29, 1910, the Korean Empire ceased to exist as an independent state. The Empire of Japan formally annexed Korea, bringing it under direct rule. It wasn't sudden. It followed years of Japanese influence and military pressure. For the next 35 years, until 1945, Korea faced a systematic attempt to erase its national identity. This wasn't small change. It aimed to reshape the very soul of a people. It affected their land, it affected their language, it affected their family names. The first and most fundamental change was the loss of sovereignty. Korea, with its centuries-old Joseon dynasty, had its own emperor, its own government, and its own diplomatic relationships. But Japan, after its victories in the Sino-Japanese War, 1894 to 1895, and the Russo-Japanese War, 1904 to 1905, emerged as the dominant power in the region. In 1905, through the Yulsa Treaty, Japan stripped Korea of its diplomatic rights, establishing a protectorate. By 1910, the Japan-Korea Annexation Treaty was signed, dissolving the Korean government entirely. The Korean Emperor Sunjong was forced to abdicate, and the Government General of Korea, a colonial administration led by Japanese officials, was installed in Seoul to rule the peninsula directly. With political power secured, the next target was the land. The colonial government initiated a massive land survey project between 1910 and 1918. The stated goal was to modernize land ownership and taxation. However, the true effect was a large-scale transfer of wealth. Many could not navigate the bureaucracy or meet short deadlines. Land was seized, consolidated, and redirected to serve Japan. After taking the land, the colonial government turned its attention to the minds of the Korean people. A key part of the assimilation policy was the suppression of the Korean language. Korean was still taught in schools, but as a secondary subject. The primary language of instruction, administration, and business became Japanese. This created a barrier for education and government jobs. To succeed, one had to master Japanese. The message was clear. Korean was for the past. Japanese was modernity and power. Policies grew more aggressive. In 1938, an ordinance removed Korean from the school curriculum. Students were forbidden to speak Korean in class and in the schoolyard. Punishments ranged from public shaming to physical discipline. Suppression extended to media. Newspapers and magazines in Korean were censored and banned. By 1940, papers like the Chosun Ilbo and the Donga Ilbo were forced to close. Only Japanese or tightly controlled information remained. Language is a vessel of culture, history, identity. Its repression severed living memory. The rewriting of identity. Names. One of the most invasive and deeply resented policies was the name-changing order, known as Soshi Kaimei. This policy pressured and eventually compelled Koreans to abandon their traditional Korean names and adopt Japanese-style family and given names. Officials claimed it was voluntary, but immense social and administrative pressure was applied. Those who refused faced school bars, job denials, even withheld rations. In Korean culture, a family name connects an individual to their clan, their ancestors, their place in history. To give up one's name was to sever that sacred link. By 1940, over 80% had registered new names, many under duress with deep psychological distress. History itself was rewritten. Korea portrayed as backward, Japan as modern and benevolent. Students were led to admire the emperor and to weaken desire for independence. State Shinto spread. Koreans required to attend shrines and recite oaths, erasing distinct spiritual traditions. Forced labor and exploitation. The colonization of Korea was not just ideological, it fueled Japan's industry and military. After seizure of land, rice production rose, but most was exported, leaving Koreans with shortages and malnutrition. As war loomed, Koreans were conscripted for forced labor. Millions were sent to mines, factories, and construction sites. In Korea, in mainland Japan, in Sakhalin, and across the empire. Often unpaid, underfed, and forced into danger, many died from exhaustion, accidents, or disease. Their bodies never returned. Hundreds of thousands of Korean women and girls were deceived or forced to serve as comfort women for the Japanese Imperial Army. They were taken to military brothels across China and Southeast Asia. They faced systematic sexual slavery, suffering severe physical and psychological trauma, an unresolved, painful legacy. Industries were built but owned by Japanese corporations, geared to the war machine. Koreans were excluded from skilled roles and ownership. Wealth was siphoned to Japan, creating extraction and dependency. By 1945, the economy was crippled and distorted, built for Japan's benefit, not Korea's. The human cost was immeasurable, leaving poverty and trauma for generations. Despite the overwhelming power of the Japanese colonial state, the Korean people never fully submitted. The March 1st movement of 1919 brought millions to peaceful protest, waving the Korean flag, shouting "Manse," and facing a brutal crackdown. Yet it proved Korea's desire for freedom. Activists formed a provisional government in Shanghai, coordinated diplomacy, and organized armed resistance. Guerrillas kept the flame alive. Kim Gu, Kim Il-sung. Within Korea, resistance meant teaching language in secret, preserving stories, and practicing rites in private. Even under forced labor, people sabotaged and escaped, at great risk. The state controlled life, but it failed to erase the Korean soul. When Japan surrendered on August 15, 1945, 35 years of colonial rule ended. Joy erupted as people openly waved the Korean flag and sang the national anthem. The first priority was culture. Schools taught in Korean. Newspapers resumed. The language filled the airwaves in the printed page. Liberation was tempered by division that hardened into the Cold War. Treasures were missing. A generation relearned history and language. Wounds of forced labor and comfort women remained. Names were reclaimed, records reconstructed. The Great Korean Dictionary published, a symbol of survival. Today's vibrant culture rests on what was fiercely protected.